Tasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmaitanaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today we are going to be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 30 and 31. But before I start that, we are towards the end of the chapter. I wanted to highlight a few things because the other verses that we have covered may have been covered, but I think there are certain things that I'd like to highlight. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about kind of recapping the whole chapter, in a short way. So the title of this chapter says the appearance of Sri Narada. This is very significant because Narada is the spiritual master of Vyasadeva. And we need to understand the relationship and the characteristics of Vyasadeva. Who was Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva is the internal potency of Krishna in the sense that he was very compassionate, first of all. Very compassionate. He broke the Vedas up into 4 Vedas, 1 Veda into 4 Vedas. And then the Puranas and Mahabharata are considered the 5th Vedas. So, who is Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva is the son of Parashar Muni and Satya. It's too loud. So there are 4 yugas, Satya, Dwapar, Treta and Kali. And some of these yugas overlap. So what happens is Lord Krishna appeared in the millennium that is divided in 3 parts. And Vyasadeva appeared in the 3rd Sandhya of that particular age. And when Vyasadeva came, he saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium, and he was transcendental by nature. He was a great sage that was fully equipped, who was fully equipped in knowledge. He could see what the deterioration is that is going to come in this age, and he saw faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life, and they would become impatient. And he was really, really concerned about the welfare of the people in all orders of life. He saw sacrifices that were mentioned in the Vedas. He practiced it, and he, was very, very compassionate in his nature. And he was wanting to help not only people that followed religion, he wanted to do it for the masses. And he felt that the one Veda that was existing was very, very difficult for the masses to understand. So he wanted to simplify this. And what he did is, due to his well-being, due to the thought process of him being well-being, and so that everybody can assimilate what is written in the Vedas, he divided this up. And it helped the women, it helped the Sudras, it helped the working class and the twice born. So, recapping, going on, and Vyasadeva followed strict disciplinary vows. He practiced deity worship. Whatever he needed to do, he was in by himself complete, and he was following it to the T. And he felt that he was not really satisfied. And I'd like to just highlight text 29, 28 and 29, I think it is. I just want to take 1 minute and read this translation. I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual master, and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, by which every woman, Shudras, and others, friends of the twice born, can see the path of religion. So while he was doing this, one verse before this, it is stated that the sage became dissatisfied at his heart and began to reflect, because he knew that the essence of religion, and he said within himself that he would like to contemplate what is going on. So now, with all this background, I'd like to get into the verse, text 30, and I will read it. So please bear with me. My Sanskrit is not the best, but I'm going to try. Tat hapi bata me dahiho hi atma chaivatmana vibhuhu asampanna iva bhati brahmavaschasya satam. Do we do the words?
Yes.
Do we break up?
We'll repeat also if you would like.
Okay. Tat happy, although.
You want us to?
Yeah.
You want to repeat the verse also, Prabhu?
If you want, you can, please. Go ahead.
Tatapi padamedhayo
Tatapi vadamedayyo
Yatma chaivatma vibhu
Yatma chaivatmana vibhu
Asampannaiva bhati
Asampannaiva bhati
Brahma varshasya sattama
Brahmavacchasya sattama
Tatapi padamedhayo
Tatapi vadamedayyo
Yatma chaivatmana vibhu
Yatma chaivatmana vibhu Asampannaiva bhati
Brahmavacchasya sattama
Brahmavacchasya sattama Tathapi vatamedayyo
Padamedhayo
Yatma chaivatmana vibhu
Yatma chaivatmana vibhu
Asampannaiva bhati
Asampannaiva bhati
Brahmavacchasya sattama
Brahmavacchasya sattama
Tatapi vatamedayyo Yatma chaivatmana vibhu Asampannaiva bhati Brahmavacchasya sattama.
So now we'll go into the meanings. Tathapi,
Tathapi,
although. Bata,
vata,
defect.
defect,
Me,
me,
mine. Dahiya,
daya,
situated in the body.
situated in the body.
He, certainly.
Certainly,
Atma,
Atma,
having been.
living
Living being. Cha,
cha,
and. Eva,
eva,
even. Atmana,
atmana,
myself.
myself,
Vibhuhu,
vibhuhu,
sufficient.
sufficient,
Asampanna,
asampanna,
waiting in.
wanting in,
Wanting in.
wanting
Eva, abhati.
in, iva abhati,
It appears to be.
it appears to be,
Brahma Varchasya,
Brahmavacchasya,
of the Vedantis.
of the Vedantis,
Satamaha,
Sattama,
the Supreme.
the Supreme.
Translation. I am feeling incomplete. Here, I is Vyasadeva, just so that everybody is following in case you have missed it. Though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living being submerged in matter is made possible by the prescribed activities in the Vedas. But the ultimate achievement is different. Unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in the transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost the clue and therefore felt dissatisfied. So this particular verse, like I mentioned when I started, is coming, that he's been contemplating for the last 2 or 3 verses, that he's really not satisfied. And here he spells out a little bit, but it is a very loaded verse. You see, the purport may be small, but there's a lot that goes into this verse. So, like I mentioned, that Srila Vyasadeva was complete. He was following it to the T. He was very compassionate. He wanted to make it simple. He wanted to simplify it for the masses. And when I say the masses, I mean me included. I can only speak for myself, that things like this are very difficult. If you're in the material life, what happens is, as soon as a child is born, 3 modes of material nature take over. It is impossible for a living entity that is born to avoid the 3 modes of material nature. No matter what you do, they are going to affect you some way or the other. So similarly, what is happening is, I cannot compare Vyasadeva to me, but all I can say is that he was very, very pakka in his determination, in his outlook, in his service, and a personality like that is feeling a vacuum. Can you imagine what happens to people that are born in different countries and different modes of nature? How the child reacts. I want to give one example here, and that example is, a child is born in a developing country and a child is born in a very developed country. They're born 1 minute apart. How is it that they're born there and one has got lots of money, the other one does not have even money to eat? So this goes back to karma, and I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just trying to say, I'm telling you all to think about how things like this happen, and how material nature, once you come into this world, how it starts affecting you. It affects some people, like for example, you're at work, you're sitting down, and all of a sudden your colleague starts getting annoyed at something. Do you think that is something that he or she has been just affected? No, he or she is carrying it for some reason, and that particular time, that mode came into effect, and the reaction came. Like this, when we meet devotees, when we go and interact with people, if somebody does not behave properly or is uncivil to us, we should not take it personally. We have to learn tolerance. We have to learn, and we have to understand that everybody carries baggage, no matter who you are. We are all trying to improve our life. So coming back to the verse, Vyasadeva, personality like Vyasadeva, was feeling the vacuum. And in this purport, it is very, very nicely put down here that Srila Prabhupada says, purification of the living being submerged in matter is made possible by prescribed activities in the Vedas. What are the prescribed activities? Some people may think, what are the prescribed activities? And what is the goal of life? Can I ask you all what is the goal of life? You all know it. I want you all to summarize it in one sentence.
Right now, I think bhakti.
Love and serve God. So we are here, we are born with this, we got this human life after so many lives. Who knows how many lives? But when we come to this material world, like I said, material nature affects us. We know that the goal of life is love and serve the Lord. But we are caught in this minutia of making money, providing for the family, taking care of children, taking care of parents. I'm not saying that is wrong. All I'm saying is this, that we should not forget the goal that we have come for. And we tend to be affected by material nature. And we tend to forget why we are here. And this is where Vyasadeva is telling us very correctly. Purification of the living being submerged in matter is we get affected by these modes. And it is possible by prescribed activities of the Vedas. The Vedas tell us that we are here to love and serve the Lord. But then there are certain people, certain faiths that ask you questions, and they keep saying, how can I love and serve God 24 hours a day? I have it in my own family, quite honestly. My brother, he's 3 years older than me. And I'm sharing this so that we can all understand. Whenever I go to Calcutta, I try to take him to Mayapur. And this man has never gone with me to Mayapur. He loves me, I love him, everything good. He says, I can't do 24-hour bhakti.
He never went, Prabhu?
No, he never went, but his daughter did go. My older brother has been, my mother has been, everybody else in my family has been. My older sister has not been, but she came to Vrindavan because I insisted once and I took her. So what I'm trying to say here is this, that people have got different values in life. They've got different goals in life. The goal should be how should I put it? I'm trying to think of the correct word. It has to be an unequivocal goal that we should have, that we are here to love and serve the Lord and follow the Vedas, live by the true disciplic succession that we have, so that we can worship the Lord through Guru and Krishna. See, what happens is Krishna gives you Guru and Guru gives you Krishna. If you don't have a Guru, you're like a rudderless ship. You're going here, you're going there, you're listening to this, you're listening to that, and you don't know who's there to instruct you. There are hundreds of people that are instructing you. So how will you take direction? Let me give you an example. If you have a traffic light and you don't have red, yellow and green, and it comes periodically, what is going to happen? There's going to be accidents all over the place, right? Similarly, we have to have somebody that we can understand that he or she is self-realized. And when you look at the self-realization and the disciplic succession, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is very clearly mentioned. Srila Prabhupada is number 32, I think it is. In that, if you really look, it traces back to Krishna. And some people ask, how do you know Krishna is the Supreme? So I ask this question to people, some people that are there. Sometimes we have a discussion and they say, I ask them, I said, how do you know who's your father? And the guy looks at me and says, what do you mean? I said, because your mother told you, right? Other than that, you don't know. Similarly, we have to have faith. We all have some intrinsic faith, but we have to solidify it. And how do you solidify it? By following the scriptures. Then, I'd like to proceed. Here it is said that unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in the transcendental normal stage. So the Lord you have to have mercy. When we say, Maharaj, please give me mercy, please bless me for something, right? Or they say that Maharaj has got causeless mercy. Out of his causeless mercy, Srila Prabhupada did this, right? We have to understand what mercy is. We have receptacles that are this big, this wide. But you know what we do? We choose to close those receptacles. You know why? Because the three modes of nature are affecting us so much. And we are so drawn into that particular living a life, a standard, that we just say, okay, we'll do this later. I'll give you an example. I know some people that say, tell me, look at me and say, for the last 10, 15 years, they're looking at me and telling me, what are you going to Krishna consciousness and all this? What's wrong with you? Do it when you get old. So I turn around and ask him. I said, how do you know when you're going to go? He said, no, I've got good genes. I'm taking care of my health. I go to the gym and I work out. So then I tell him or her, you work out for your body. What are you doing about your soul? And the guy says, what soul are you talking about? They don't even have knowledge, Prabhu, that they're not this body. And I feel sorry for them that, they are doing everything as a normal human being. You see the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee? When you go to the grocery store, I've noticed people take fruit, they start eating it. Have you noticed it? And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you? And I cannot tell them anything. They don't know better. So the thing is that we are very, very fortunate. Srila Prabhupada came to this country when he was that old. He was well situated in India. Why did he come? Because of his understanding and the word that his spiritual master had instructed him. He came after so many years, after trying so much. And you see why I'm bringing that up. There is a point I'm bringing that up. It is because we are very fortunate. We've got Krishna consciousness in a platter. Can you imagine when you read Lilamrita of Srila Prabhupada? You see how he struggled. And I'll give you this instance that I read and I cried many times. He did not have 25 paisa in his pocket to go to take a rickshaw to get back to Godhead magazine printed. He would go to this Om Prakash guy, right? If you've not read Lilamrita, my recommendation, please read. It is so easy to read. It is a very, very nice thing at night, you can just read. So he used to travel 3 or 4 kilometers to go to this press. And Om Prakash used to look at Srila Prabhupada and he used to say, Prabhupada, have you had breakfast? And Prabhupada would be silent. He wouldn't tell him yes or no. And that's when he understood that he didn't eat. And he would get something for Prabhupada to do this. So I'm trying to highlight that Prabhupada's goal, what was his goal? His goal was to see that everybody in every town and village take up Lord Chaitanya's mission, this Sankirtan movement, and see how much he struggled, how hard he worked. At that ripe age he came, he traveled the world. Who on this planet has done what he's done? Really, look at it. At that ripe age, having a couple, 2, 3 heart attacks on the way, he survived that steamboat shipping, that Jaladuta. He came here, he didn't know, he knew maybe 1 or 2 families. And he came and he translated these books that were very difficult for the masses. So I'm trying to get a comparison here between Srila Vyasadev's compassion and Srila Prabhupada's compassion. Just look how compassionate they were. They did not care about what is going to happen to them, but they wanted to see that these books are printed. He said, print these books. And I'll give you a real life example of how these books have made a temple in India, 50 crore temple. I visited Maybe some of us have done it. With Maharaj, we went to Tirupati. Tirupati Devasthanam has got only one institution that can sell their books, and that is ISKCON. We sold books worth 35 crores there, and we built the temple worth 50 crores there. See the power of books. We really underestimate what he told us. You know, sometimes I'm saying in general, I'm not accusing anybody, but I'm just saying in general. Look at the power of books. And during his lifetime, we saw 108 temples manifest. How did he do this? Unless he was empowered. And he was. Because no human being can do what he did. He traveled the globe. Even in his last days, I don't know if you all have got an opportunity to see that video. It is very touching. He was dictating and he was telling them about Srimad Bhagavatam, how to do this, how after he goes, how to carry on. So this institution that we belong to has been given to us in a platter. And what does it teach us? It teaches us we are not this body, love and serve the Lord, and remain constant in this. There are some devotees that come to me and say, Prabhu, you have brought up your children, now you are free. So I look at them and I say, what are you talking about? They say, no, you're free, you can go travel, you can do this. I say, what about responsibilities in the temple? Who's going to do that? And you know, when I retire or when we retire from the job, then we have a full-time service, right? So we are so fortunate that we've got this association. And look at Guru Maharaj. In 96, 97, he started with a couple of families, as you know, we had just 2 or 3 families. See how it all unfolded. And see how many years he's given of his life. You see, he does not live at one place more than 3 days. If you and me travel for work and we have to live somewhere, we come back and we are always telling our significant other, you know, it was very difficult, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, I couldn't sleep, right? See how much sacrifice they're doing. Why are they doing this? For the betterment of society, for the betterment of us, for the followers that they can take to Krishna consciousness. They have no ulterior motive. They have nothing to gain. They have everything to lose. Really? But look at the compassion. I'm just coming to this word compassion and see how it is coming down these disciplic succession. And what is our duty? Our duty is to see that our children somehow, we have to bring our children, and most of us are doing it. But if you can influence even one family to come regularly to the temple and make their children comfortable with other children, that is the key factor. That is how, you know, what happens is ultimately the children bring the parents to the temple. That is what happens. They say, Dad, we've got to go to the temple. Mom, we've got to go to the temple. My friend will be waiting. See, what happens is, in the beginning we are very enthusiastic, and then modes of nature affect us, but stick with the program. That's the key. That is how we can get, if we influence one family, that influences another family, like this, we can all follow what is in the scriptures. So, moving along to text 31. Kim va bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupitaha priya paramaham sanam tha eva hi achyuta priya.
Kim va bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupita priya paramahamsana ta eva hi achyuta priya.
Go ahead.
किं वा भागवता धर्मा
किं वा भागवता धर्मा
न प्रयेण निरूपिता
प्रायेण निरूपिता
प्रिया परमहंसानां
प्रिया परमहंसानां
तदेव हि अच्युता प्रिया
तयैव हि अच्युतप्रिया
किं वा भागवता धर्माणां
किं वा भागवता धर्मा
न प्रायेण निरूपिताः
न प्रायेण निरूपिताः
प्रिया परमहंसानां तयैव
प्रिया परमहंसानां
हि अच्युतप्रियः
तयैव हि अच्युतप्रिया किं वा भागवता धर्मा
किं वा भागवता
धर्मा
न प्रायेण निरूपितः
न प्रायेण निरूपितः
प्रिया परमहंसानां
प्रिया परमहंसानां
तयैव हि अच्युतप्रियाः
तयैव हि अच्युतप्रियः
Kim va
किं वा
or
और
Bhagavata Dharmaha,
भागवता धर्मा
devotional activities of the living being.
devotional activities of the living beings
Na,
न
not.
not
Prayena,
प्रायेण
almost.
almost
Nirupitaha,
निरूपितः
directed.
directed
Priyaha,
प्रियाः
dear.
dear
Paramahamsanam,
परमहंसानां
of the perfect beings.
of the perfect beings
Te eva,
ते एव
that also.
that also
He,
he
certainly.
certainly
Achyuta,
Achyuta
Achyuta,
Achyuta
the infallible.
the infallible
Priyaha,
Priyaha
attractive.
attractive
Translation. This may be because I did not. This is again a continuation that Srila Vyasadeva is, saying. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and the infallible Lord. So let me read this once more. He says, Srila Vyasadeva is continuing to say, he is dissatisfied in this verse. He's continuing that. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and the infallible Lord. And then I'd like to proceed with the purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of the living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can be fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narada Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows. So he talks about this in the next 2 verses, and then this chapter ends. So here I'd like to point out 2 things that are very, very clear. What he's saying here in the translation is this, that even if we want, like an individual, if they are not fixed in the devotional service, if they don't do this in the right way and they are fixed on that path, neither they are satisfied, neither the Lord is satisfied. It's an example I'll give you. Many times when Maharaj came home, there were many questions that were asked. And one of the questions that always came up many times, several times, even my wife asked this question, and Maharaj answered, how can you have your leg in 2 boats? Right? So let me give you another example. In real life, these are all practical things that I'm telling you. So please don't think that I'm digressing. I know exactly what I'm saying. So what is going on is we get sucked into the material energy. And we say, okay, we are going to go to the temple. Kirtan's going on, I'll come later. Right? that kirtan, you don't know how it's going to affect your heart. You don't know whether that particular time that you're going to spend. I'm sure all of us in this room and others that are watching, if they are, there has to be a moment that they may have felt something, right? And that is one of the reasons we come back to taste that nectar again and again. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but we are resolute. We have to be resolute. We have to stick with the program, and we have to do it with our heart. So the dissatisfaction here that Srila Vyasadeva is saying is this, that we have to what is the normal condition one has to take up devotional service to the Lord? What is the normal condition? Is there any normal condition? Can we think of any normal condition?
I thought it means that the living entity has to be seated in his dharmic position. That is to serve the Lord. Just like our original dharma is to serve Krishna, like liquidity is to water, as heat is to fire. The living entity, it is to serve the Lord.
Right.
So that is the normal condition.
And what really, you're absolutely right, Mataji, and you know what he's saying in the purport, that this satisfaction was felt by him, and the normal living condition of the devotional service to the Lord, unless one is fixed in the normal condition, according to what I can understand from here, is this, that we need to know that we are not this body. We are here to love and serve the Lord, and we have to be fixed in that, and we have to do it with our heart, not superficially. You can see many people, I'm not criticizing again, this is an observation. Many people from different faiths, although they are not Krishna conscious, they are good people. There are many of them like that. And Srila Prabhupada never discouraged, if you really look at it. He always said, whatever faith you are doing, keep doing. He didn't want to convert everybody into Krishna conscious. We tried, and our goal here at Naperville Center, many times I've heard, is that we don't have many non-Indians. See, the environment, I'll give you an example today. The environment that we have when somebody non-Indian comes into this place, he or she feels, when they come and they see all of us, 99% of us Indian, right, origin. Nothing wrong with that. But they feel a little uncomfortable. So one way to do this, or to circumvent this, is to practice, bring them up to a certain point, and then bring them here. Don't be premature, don't be in a rush to say, hey, come to a temple. No. Nurture them. Try to take care of them. Try to give them knowledge. Let them read some books. Let them understand. So when they come, they're not uncomfortable. So we have to make the environment in such a way that it is welcoming for anybody and everybody. And when you look at Srila Prabhupada's example, how he took the Western devotees, that was the LSD era. People were so much into drugs at that time. I know few of you all were not even born at that time, right? In 60s, right? So that era was a crazy era. People were just under influence of Kali. Look how they were doing. They were just drinking, smoking, breaking all the 4 regulative principles. Forget about anything else. How Srila Prabhupada, by his presence, coming here, he took them back to India. And there are certain Maharajas that I have to highlight today. The example is Jayapataka Maharaj. He used to sleep on cement bags because cement was a very big factor at that time when they were building Mayapur. He used to sleep with mosquitoes coming and biting his body. And they were not used to all this stuff. Their stomach used to be so upset. And they'd never been to India. Srila Prabhupada told them, they came. And then he traveled, Jayapataka Maharaj. I met him a couple of times. I had the opportunity to meet Maharaj. He traveled 2 or 3 continents in a couple of days. How many people can do that? Going from one continent to another, to another, to another. And you know how many disciples he's got? Thousands. And the Middle East, they started this Bhakti Viksha there in the Middle East. And that's how it has come here. So we have to be very grateful. We have to be very, very thankful to the Lord that He gave us Srila Prabhupada, and then Srila Prabhupada gave us so many spiritual masters. Can you imagine if we did not have these spiritual masters that were initiating? They won't give the mercy, the causeless mercy. Do you think I'm qualified to sit here and talk? I don't think so. Do you think I'm qualified to do my job? I don't think so. It is all causeless mercy, I'm telling you. If somebody feels that he or she is really, really qualified to do the job very nicely and get paid and demand X amount for their services, I think they're in dreamland. We come from a different country. We speak differently. We have different accents. We carry different qualities. Everybody is unique in their approach. But we are very fortunate that we come to this country and we're so successful. How is that happening? Have you pondered and thought about it? Maharaj has told us time and again that if your spiritual life is in order, your material life is automatically in order. You know what non-devotees try to do? They get their material life in order and then they say we worry about spiritual life.
Which will never happen.
Which chances are maybe not this lifetime, maybe a few lifetimes later. So the thing is, please always remember that everything in this world is temporary. All our relationships are temporary, but there's one permanent relationship. That is Krishna. It is always there, it will always be, it is always in the future also. See, our relationships on this planet are temporary. Look at it this way. Husband, wife, father, mother, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, anything. It is all material life that we are thinking. And we think that we are going to come here, build a nice big house, and live here permanently, and worry about spiritual life later. You hear so many things that happen to people prematurely. Even recently, our congregation went through this. Halada Prabhu's son, he left his body at mid-40s, I think. So he left it, and it is very, very unfortunate that he had to lose his second son. So, padam, there is danger at every step. You know what is the safest place to be? Right here. This temple. If you just keep coming here and just practice this, keep on reading the books, keep getting your conviction, getting your clarification. If you have any thoughts, any questions, ask Maharaj so that you can clear in this lifetime. Somebody asked Maharaj this question. Maharaj, can we go back to Godhead this lifetime? He looked, he thought, he said absolutely. So that is what we should aim. I'm not saying that we will get there, but we are all trying. And we have to do this with no self-interest. We should not come to the temple and bring a laundry list in our head. Please fulfill this. That is mercantile exchange. But it is better to come to the temple, bring the children, bring the family, make it a family affair. And then just understand that we are here, we've got Krishna consciousness through all these nice devotees. for a reason, and that is to love and serve the Lord. What can we take when we leave? There's one thing that we can take, the permanent bank balance. Whatever you learn in this lifetime, spiritually, you will carry with you to the next life. So the more that we can assimilate, the more that we can understand, the more that we can associate, and the more mercy we can give other people. There will be three types of people you'll come across: equal, above, below. You have to be cognizant that there are people that are always going to be same level, above, below. You may be in one of these three categories, and you'll come across people like that. So just think, if Srila Vyasadeva, who knew everything, who was the compiler of everything, he felt a separation. And in the next two verses, I looked at it, and then in the next chapter, when Narada Muni appears, he gives instructions. The next chapter is titled Narada's Instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So it's a very powerful chapter that is coming up. So I would say that I will stop here. If there are any comments, please do. If there are any thoughts, please share, because this should be an open thing. It's not that I'm coming lecturing and I'm going away. I don't know everything in life. Everybody should say something.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Whenever you sit that side, you always bring your heart out. Like, see what Prabhupada has done, see what Guru has done. But for them, why would you leave? Make the audience feel like that. And I am very grateful that you always, with so much heartfelt gratitude, you make us aware of the sacrifice and the mercy in our lives. I'm very thankful whenever I listen to you. Because for me and all, it is like taken for granted, but you always bring it to the forefront and you live it, that moment of hardship they went through, and what we have really got it out of the causeless mercy of the Lord and you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Great. And you're an inspiration, Mataji. Let me tell you something. I have to tell you that we have known each other for many, 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 many years. And Sandhya Mataji is doing selfless service quietly. She's a quiet soldier that comes and does what she's supposed to do and beyond. And her heart is in the temple. And I'm telling this right in front of her. She knows nothing else. Her heart is right here, and it is genuinely here. Any service that you give her, she will do 2 steps more. So thank you, Mataji, for your association, and we are very grateful to have you, and we continue to have your association. And I know Mataji helped my wife a couple of times and helped me personally very recently, and I will talk about that separately. But thank you, Mataji. Very good.
Even 25% is literally, that would be make me happy.
The point that you said, when we are not working as a normal condition, normal person, we are actually dissatisfied. Our normal condition is like, in a simple way you put it, that we are spiritual and we are supposed to love and serve God, and we will keep on doing it continuously. So that's very nice. The example that you have given, how Srila Prabhupada, even though he was undergoing so much hardships, he was completely dedicated and was doing that service. That means he must be really satisfied. He must be thinking that's a normal life, right? He must be giving so much inspiration, right? So, because because he's under the service. So even though physical hardships are there, but internally he is in constant connection with the Lord. That is the normal condition for him, right? For everyone actually, in a sense.
He was chatpataying. When I say chatpataying means, see, he could not come out west for so long. And he was really, really getting anxious because he was getting up there in age. And he had promised that he will go out west and print books. So he went to this Murarji, Mrs. Murarji, whatever her name is.
Sumati.
Yeah. And he said, please let me go. And she said, you know, you're so old, you're going to die there. It'll be so cold, you can't bear. He didn't give up. See his persistence, bro. He lost his whole business. He used to do a chemical business, pharmaceutical business. And one day, do you know what happened to what his wife did for tea biscuits? You heard about that?
Yeah.
That she sold the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the translation, and she's saying, I needed biscuits. And then Srila Prabhupada told her, he said, what do you want, me or tea? What do you prefer, tea or me? And she chose that part. So look at the sacrifices that he had to go. At a young age, he met his Guru Maharaj once, first time. And that is the time when, so look at the mercy that we have got through his disciplic succession. We are very fortunate, bro. Very fortunate.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much. I just want to say what Sandhya Mataji said. When the examples that you gave are like very, very simple examples from personal life, that's what always, interests me when I hear from you, right? So, the example that you're bringing children, the way that you interact with other people, grocery store, whatever example that you give, very, very simple examples, and it like very, like in day-to-day life, right? It's very touching. So, that's all I want.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for encouraging me. Without his insistence, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'm telling you honestly. I would be in my comfort zone there.
Hare Krishna
Thank you
Prabhu.
so much.
Thank you so much. I second these devotees. This is one of my inspiration, though. I wanted to be in my comfort zone.
Keep talking.
In the mornings, but this is one of the motivation when the other devotees are, taking time and effort to really go through in detail. Some of you have been reading so regularly, some of us, people like me, I just read the part that I have to speak and I hear proper class or like read through. So I started appreciating the effort goes in there. And the other thing is when we are sharing, as Sandhya Mataji is saying, the heart really comes out, and I'm connecting that to the normal stage that Prabhupada is putting there in the purport. When we are in this Bhagavatam class, we can see, when we are hearing or speaking Bhagavatam, it feels so natural and so enlivening, even though a number of other anxieties are there out there. Once we step into the temple room and start hearing, it really transports us somewhere out there. So I'm really appreciating that the conviction you're speaking. Definitely you have seen, a number of years how this congregation developed. That's such an inspiration for people like me. At times I get a little shaken. Is it really working? Or, that I exactly, relate to Vyasadeva's situation, being dissatisfied. I say, I'm trying to follow my spiritual master instructions. I'm trying to do this, of course, not in perfect way, but still nothing seems to be, at times this thing bothers. But thank you so much for bringing Srila Prabhupada's example, how persistent he is, how patient he is. He doesn't have to go through all that. He could happily be there in Vrindavan and say, okay, I'm like really trying to fix up myself and my guru will be happy because I'm, perfecting becoming a pure devotee or whatever. But the compassion part you were highlighting, he really want to give out. It's not just for my own self, but I want to give out. And on that aspect, I was really appreciating when I first came. I mean, when I started hearing, when I heard this topic, service makes you happy, I couldn't understand. It's like, I mean, service is something you have to do it. When I ask kids, they're like, Amma, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like, why do I have to? It's like an extra burden. But I tell them, based on my experience though, after questioning, is it really true? I asked my mentor, Mataji, you're saying this, but I don't know how service will make you happy. It's like a burden. But she said, do it really in that selfless mood, really for pleasing the other person. I mean, Krishna may be far out, but at least the devotee you're trying to serve. So it really brought us that kind of happiness which I have never ever experienced otherwise. So that increased my conviction. Scriptures, and I tell my kids, you just try to do that and then tell me later how do you feel. And they come back and tell me, Amma, you're right, even though I felt like, not wanting to do it. But after doing it, it really made us happy. So I'm really so thankful for this opportunity, as you're saying, how we have got this in a platter. And sometimes I tend to take it for granted and say, okay, this is fine, that's fine. But especially with Srimad Bhagavatam, the weekends and the deity worship opportunities, then, we cannot even dream if there are India temples or something.
You're cutting yourself short, Mataji. I've heard what you say, I acknowledge, but look at the service you're doing. Look at, I'll point out, Prabhu, tell me if I'm wrong. She is serving the children, she's serving Prabhu, she's serving, doing her best that she can under the circumstances. See, what it is we have a responsibility when our children are little. We cannot expect our children to be behaving like adults, although we want them to. I'll give you an example, practical example. This is how I observe. I don't tell anybody anything. I just observe. You did not know this verse. Why didn't you do this verse? Somebody's telling his child. I'm looking at it. What do you expect an 8-year-old child to do? He wants to go and play. Let him play. If you start doing that, that becomes a scar in the children's life. But you're doing the best service you can. You're serving your Prabhu, you're serving your children, you're doing a full-time job, Bhagavatam, you're going and distributing books. What else do you want? Do you want to do everything in this 5-year period? Is there a rush to do that? So you're too hard on yourself, Mataji. My observation is, do the best you can and be grateful and thankful and just continue doing it in a nice, loving way. That's all. No, there's no race. I always tell people that Krishna consciousness is a process. It is not something that you take a key and you start and it becomes full or empty. As you're going along, you're going to develop. As you're going along, you're going to shed some baggage. And I have no qualms in telling you this, that I've said it repeatedly, a couple of times that I've sat here, I said, I was compromising 3 of the 4 principles. Before Krishna, I didn't know. I didn't know better. Once I got to know, I said, hey, what am I doing? So in my office, I come across my colleagues, and they say, I can't live without this food and that food, which abominable food, that I cannot even mention. And I look at them and they say, are you vegetarian? I said, yes. I said, don't ask me how I'm going to live without protein. I'm living 25 years. Right? What is this myth that they have that they can't live without protein? I said, can't you see I'm doing this in a nice way? You're a healthy guy. I said, yeah, because I choose what I eat. Right? They say, come with us for lunch. I said, no, I don't have time. Somehow get out there. So all of us are doing the best. Don't be hard on yourself. Do continue doing what you're doing. Do less, but do it nicely. That's all I'm saying. Don't try to scramble to do more. Sometimes you got to say no to service. It's okay. We got to understand where you draw the line. You have a body, you have other commitments, you have other things. There are some times that I've said no to service, and I've said it in a nice way that, Prabhu, I cannot. He asked me. I had so much going on, Prabhu, in my life last 3-4 months. So much construction going on. Go to India, mother here, there. She helped me out. I called. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so inundated. So I said, no time. Roof replace, this replace, that, driveway, this thing, that thing, everything, you know. You got sucked into it. But do the best. Try to prioritize. My suggestion is have a gratitude journal. My recommendation for everybody. Maintain one. And write in there what you're grateful for today. Because you know, every day comes and goes. If you have a gratitude journal, you will understand how much mercy you're getting and how fortunate we are. Your conviction in Krishna consciousness will quadruple. Tell me, do you remember what happened 5 days ago? Do you know what you ate for breakfast 3 days ago? You don't. Because we got information overload. Just getting bombarded at work, and you come home and the children are bombarding you. Then the husband is bombarding. Then the wife is bombarding. We get taken aback. All these modes of nature are just reacting. Crazy. Life has become complex 10 years ago. Just imagine 10 years ago, where were you? Today, do you think you're as busy or busier? Busier, right? Why is that happening? Because this thing, which is a blessing, right?
Every time, something to look at.
Everybody's in, you get into the elevator, people are doing this, and like, what happened? Where is the hello? Where is the smile? Right? Sad. Our interactions in our houses and our teenage children. Teenage is a very, very tough time. You have to be very conscious when your children turn teenagers. Don't make them rebellious and don't make them hate you. Because in 1 minute they'll say, Dad and Mom, I hate you. Next minute they'll come and say, I love you. See, they'll do it for a couple of years. Then when they go to college, and when they get to college, then they say, Dad, Mom, I love you, thank you for everything, right? And when they start driving, that is a very big traumatic experience for parents. So, be kind to them. Try to understand that they are living 2 lives. They're living one life in Krishna consciousness and they're living one life at school. They are dealing with a lot. Don't think that their life is any easier than us. It is worse than us. Because there the constant bombardment is you did it, you did it, you did it. I. Here we're saying it's not I, it's he. So they are in conflict. But in spite of that, they are doing Krishna consciousness. That is what we should appreciate. That is a big thing that our children, every child that comes here is special. They are the future leaders of this temple, of this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Next couple generations will be saved. And how we can try to inculcate this is what is going to depend on how we treat our children and how they treat their children. If we are kind to them, if we are nice and we are understanding, they will take to this process. But if we are stubborn and we are adamant and we want results from a 6 or 8 year old child, and we tell that child, do this, do that, he's like a robot. Is he really going to take it to heart? No. So please understand, they have got a very tough life. We've got a tough life. We have to balance. Always be practical and balancing. Sometimes you've got to say, my plate is full. I'm so sorry. You cannot just say, yes. My wife used to do that. And I used to turn around and say, how are you going to do this? She slowed down now. Now she slowed down. She's understood. She's understood. She was doing Sunday school and every time she's running. I'm coming into the room, she's going. Where are you going? I'm going to Stoka. But anyway, Maharaj's mercy is there, the devotees association is there, that's how we continue, and we just pray to the Lord that the phase 2 we break ground. Please pray that by May we break ground and we get the permit, and then the money flows in, Krishna will somehow make this happen. Can you imagine if we see the temple during our lifetime? It's great. It's all a joint effort without everybody's effort, every single person who comes here and who's contributed or in future will contribute, as well as the bank that is going to give us. It's so nice. Did you all imagine 5 years ago that we would build this? So, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.